wanting or expecting too much too fast. Or you could say putting too much pressure on your shoulders as you learn how to trade. Now, whichever way you want to look at it, this is one of the key concepts, one of the main pitfalls that I see people going through as they learn how to trade. Almost everyone experiences it to a certain degree, but for a lot of people, they let it be the reason that they crash and burn, and they never get to where they want to be as a trader. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at exactly what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to give you very simple ways to help you avoid it so you can get to where you want to be as a trader. So what am I talking about? Well, exactly as I said, wanting or expecting too much as you learn how to trade. Now that in itself is not necessarily the problem, because you can want too much, you can expect too much. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. However, the problem starts when you start to put yourself into situations that you can't really handle, that you're not yet able to control and deal with because you are wanting and expecting too much too fast. Now in these videos, I always sort of use my own experience for when I was learning how to trade, and also the experience of people that I have worked with. So students, people who have just emailed me, whatever it may be. Now, at present, well, just before the Easter holidays, I was speaking to one of my students. Now, I'm not picking out anyone individually and saying, okay, this is wrong. I'm just doing it because it reminds me of something to go over, and it can be really helpful not only to the student who I've already talked to, but to other traders who are learning how to trade, because it tends to be that people, they do the same thing. We all think we're very unique and we're very different, but when we are learning how to do things, very often we all follow a very similar path. And very often, unfortunately, it's the wrong path. So what I'm talking about is when you're starting to learn how to trade. Now, after you've learned how to trade and you know what you're supposed to be doing, then you start to have a little bit of success. Now, in this student example, he had had 3 months of consistent profitability. And I believe that was not long after starting to learn how to trade. And that is absolutely fantastic. When I was learning, it took me, to get consistency over a 3-month period, it took me well over a year. In the initial year, I was just throwing money at the broker. So that is a fantastic achievement. However, the problem then comes when people start to think, okay, I have maybe figured this out. I maybe know exactly what I'm doing. And what tends to happen after that is they start to throw money at the markets. Now, what is a good example of this? So if you think of really learning anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the example of, let's say, Formula One racing. It can be any Formula One racer you want. Let's say Lewis Hamilton. When he was learning how to race, he started off in go-karts. He became very, very good in go-karts. Obviously, he was the best at the time in go-karts because he then got scouted and he then got moved up. However, he didn't get taken from go-karts and shoved into a Formula One car, because what would have happened? He wouldn't have done very well at all. You'd be lucky if he could get that Formula One car around the track. He might have crashed. He couldn't deal with the pressure. He couldn't deal with the media intensity that would come with such a large step up. What happens instead, and it happens for everything that you learn how to do, if you learn it properly, is you go stages. He moved up one class into a slightly better class of racer and class of car. Slightly faster, slightly better designed. Maybe he has a little bit more pressure from the team, a little bit more pressure from crowds of fans who start to watch at this level, and then he goes step by step. And that's really a metaphor for anything you're learning in life. The way we grow is we are always just put into a place where we're ever so slightly uncomfortable. Because when we're slightly uncomfortable, we're learning and we're growing. However, what people tend to do is, instead of going step by step, they learn the first stage and they try and jump right to the end stage. And all they're doing is they're blowing themselves up. They're trying to suddenly deal with all of this pressure, all of these expectations that they put on themselves. And what happens is 99% of the time, people crash and they burn. So as a trader, what is it? It's when you start to get a little bit of consistency and you start to think, okay, I figured this out. Almost everybody does it. It's very hard to take a long-term view when you're learning. You know, you learn guitar, you learn the chords, suddenly you think, okay, I'm going to start playing AC/DC songs. It doesn't happen. So what happens? You give up on the guitar. You walk away from the guitar. But with trading, it can be a lot more dangerous, because when you get that initial bout of success, you think, okay, I want to go for this. You take all your money and you put all your money into this trading account, and then you try and trade. And what you're trying to do is go from A to Z in one step. And what happens? Suddenly you are dealing with the pressure of losing a lot more money when you lose a trade. You're dealing with the pressure of having a lot more money on the line when you're in the trade and still managing your trade effectively. When you have drawdowns, you have to deal with those the emotions, the sort of fear. Then you have to start dealing with the fear of, am I going to make this money back? How do I make this money back? And it starts to snowball, and you start to make more and more and more mistakes. So that's what this student did. He took a big step up in his trading account. As I've mentioned, I'm not just singling out one person, I'm just using this as an example because I know lots of people do this. I did this. It's exactly what I tried to do, and what it did to me is it caused me to lose a lot of money. It's exactly what happens. So, what do you need to do? You need to understand that to grow as a trader is the exact same in growing in anything else that you do when you're learning a new skill, a new whatever it is. You have to go step by step. Instead of just suddenly throwing lots of money at the account, all you're doing when you do that is you are, instead of taking yourself just a little bit higher, putting yourself into a little bit of discomfort so you start to grow, you're basically throwing yourself into a pool of sharks. And you're trying to fight your way out of this pool of sharks. You don't really know how to deal with it yet. You haven't grown enough. If you're putting all the money that you can afford in, and you're a beginner, it's very, very difficult to stay emotionally detached from the trading. So instead, what you want to do is just build slowly. 3 months of consistency, fantastic. Build your account a little bit. Wait for another month of consistency, then build it another little bit. All the time you're just a little bit uncomfortable. And each time you grow a little bit more and you say, okay, emotions are slightly heightened, but at the end of the month, yep, I can still cope with it. Up the account a little bit more. And then what happens when you start to struggle? You just hold off and you just allow yourself to trade at that level for a few months until you start to grow more comfortable. And then when you're comfortable, absolutely fine. You can put more money into the trading account. If you don't do it this way, if you want and expect too much too fast, I cannot stress this enough. It's going to lead to disaster. It can be very difficult to accept that it's going to take you a long time to learn something. It doesn't help that lots of people out there claim that you can be a trader in a few months. It's just not going to happen. I get a lot of hate all the time for saying things like this, but I would rather give the brutal truth and stop some people from going through what I went through, and hopefully they can build steadily and get to the place they want to be, rather than just giving people comfortable lies. Rather than people just coming onto videos and saying, okay, yeah, this guy's telling me I can be a trader in a few months, which is exactly what I want. I'm just going to go ahead and do all these risks, take all these risks. Because what happens is people end up failing. You just become a statistic and you just lose money. If you are serious about becoming a trader, you have to take a long-term view. You have to understand that you are not simply learning support and resistance and where to buy and where to sell. You are teaching yourself how to cope with putting your money on the line. And each step of the way, that money starts to increase. It doesn't matter how detached you tell yourself you're going to be. I have never seen one person trading with an amount of money that they thought was a lot of money and being absolutely cool under pressure. They turn into nervous wrecks. Yeah, when I'm in a trade, I am not just sitting there like, la-di-da-di-da, it doesn't matter, it's just going to be a loss and I can get on with it. I'm always taking the hits when I take a loss. It always hurts a little bit, but over time, I built up the ability to deal with those losses. And what I mean by deal with them is lead me into the next trade without making stupid decisions. I can still continue trading the way I'm supposed to trade, even if I have runs of losses. That's the only difference as a professional trader to a beginner. That's what you have to learn. After you've learned the trading plan, over let's say 1, 2, 3 months, whatever it takes you, then you are learning how to allow yourself to implement your trading plan effectively. And that takes time. There's no way to sort of skirt around it. It's going to take you minimum, I would say, a year before you are absolutely comfortable with what you're doing and able to start risking money that you consider to be a lot of money. Now, you can build along the way, but it has to be small incremental steps. All the videos I do, they are trying to help you avoid the mistakes that I made and the mistakes that I see lots of other people making. If you are serious about doing this, please just take a long-term approach. Give yourself the chance to make it to where you want to be. Just relate it to anything else you may want to learn. Any sport, any musical instrument. If you want to learn a foreign language, you're not going to go to a class for a couple of months and be fluent. You're not going to get a university degree in a couple of months. You're not going to be able to sit that fourth year exam after 3 months in first year, even if you do have a good understanding. Because all the time, you're putting yourself into that slightly uncomfortable state and you're learning more and more and more. So just a relatively short video, guys. It's a very, very important point. Hopefully some of you listen to what I'm saying in this video. Hopefully it helps you as you start to move forward, because the worst thing you can possibly do is expect or want too much too fast as a trader. This is your money that you're putting on the line. Your broker will happily accept it off of you. They'll take everything you've got and then some more if you want to give them it. The only way you can avoid it is to take a long-term view, to build slowly, to treat trading like a business, to treat the markets with the respect they deserve. 70% of people don't fail at this because it's easy. They fail at it because it's hard and because they make the wrong decisions. Okay guys, so as always, I hope that was helpful. I hope you all had a good Easter break. I'm James Orr, and thank you.